Alright, I'm going to talk a little bit about what a net is. Well, we can draw a net for any polyhedron. Remember what a polyhedron is? It's a solid made of only polygons. And so here's some examples of some nets. Basically, if you were to take a polyhedron and unfold it so that it can be laid down on a flat surface, that is what a net is. Notice how all the pieces of the polyhedron are still connected by an edge. It's not like we have one of these triangles floating off over here. Every net could be refolded up to form that polyhedron. There's only one polyhedron each net will be able to create. So notice that there's also multiple nets for the same shape. Here we have this triangular prism, and well, we've drawn a net in two different ways. And so there's probably more ways to draw the net for this triangular prism right here. But sometimes there's the way that you think initially, and someone next to you might be able to think through it a different way. Ultimately, as long as it can fold back up to create this polyhedron, then it is an acceptable net. Let's take a look for a second over here.
If I want to draw a pentagonal pyramid, let's say the net of a regular pentagonal pyramid.
Yeah, you couldn't see that, could you? There you go. I'm going to draw the net of a regular pentagonal pyramid. Well, a pyramid, if this is my pentagon, that is the base of my pyramid, and I know that I need all of the triangular faces to fold up and come to a point, and kind of imagine that. So each one of my sides of my pentagonal pyramid needs to have a triangle an isosceles triangle, the same isosceles triangle needs to come off every edge of my pentagon. So these might not be perfect, so I just roughly drew them, but they would all have to be the same congruent isosceles triangle, and of course then they would fold up. Since each side length would be the same, they would match up to form that edge of my pyramid. Right here I've drawn the net of a what's going to be a square prism or a rectangular prism. If I cut this out, whew, all right, so take a look at that. Look at that right there. Notice how I have two bases which are congruent, and each one of the lateral faces right there is also congruent. So if I fold along the lines that I drew as part of my net, if I fold along those, notice how it's now coming together and it forms that rectangular prism that I was expecting. I can now take some small pieces of tape. Right, let's take a look at that. It folded up. It may not be pretty, but we know because of the number of boxes going in each direction, you look back and notice it was like, okay, the square was 3 by 3, 9 square units making up each of the squares. The rectangles are 9 by 3, so there's 27 square units making up each of those. So every one of the squares are congruent, every one of the rectangles are congruent. Here we have our own little polyhedron. It is a regular rectangular prism.